Time now for News Extra here on KNEB, brought to you by Pinnacle Bank, Torrington and Mitchell, the way banking should be. Well, we have three guests with us today. We're going to talk about Gering School and the proposed bond issue, reorganization of how the district is set up logistically. And Superintendent Bob Hastings, along with Dr. Daryl Wills and Tory Schwartz, are here to visit about this. I want to start with you, Bob. Recap a little bit about the configuration issue at Gering Schools and the changes that you're talking about there at Gering Schools.
So Gering's current configuration is we have elementaries that are kindergarten through 6th grade. We have a junior high that's 7th and 8th grade, and then our 9th graders set in a separate program all into themselves, the freshman academy that lives at the 9th grade or the junior high building. And then we have a 10-12 high school. When Gering High School was built in 1965, that was a pretty common setup educationally, and it made a lot of sense educationally at that time. Over the years, academically, socially, programmatically, activity-wise, a lot of things have changed. Academic standards have kind of realigned, and they look a lot more like 9-12 standards, 6-8 standards, and so we want to make sure that we get those kids grouped in the right academic areas. We also need to make sure that we are providing the best access to the students at all times to all the programming that they need. And so we're looking very closely at being able to bring the 9th graders up to the high school. We're the last 10-12 high school in the state of Nebraska.
That probably surprised me. I did not realize.
Yeah, probably one of the last in the nation even. And so in order to do that, we're going to need to add some space to Gering High School. It was built to accommodate 450 to 500 kids. We'd be bringing an additional 140 to 170 students over, and so we need to add space for them. And then we also have a 51-year-old building that it's time to it's been cared for extraordinarily well, but it's just got some 51-year-old things that have started to happen to it, and we want to make sure that we put that building in a position to last us another 40, 50 years if we can. And so we need to do some renovations. And the last piece to this is it's important that we are constantly looking and evaluating the safety and security of our staff and students. And so being able to create better controlled entrances, being able to account for people who come and go from our building, making sure that they have to pass through the office in order to get in or get out is really important to us. And so we're going to make sure that we take a hard look at those things as well.
Okay. That lays it out pretty well. We want to come back, visit with our other two guests here in a moment, and we'll do that right after these words.
Secure your peace of mind with Pinnacle Bank's new checking account, the Diamond Secure account. With it, you'll get all the great features of our checking accounts, along with identity theft protection and cellular telephone protection. For complete details of this checking account, speak with the bank representative. Open a new Diamond Secure account in branch or at wypinbank.com. To switch your current checking account, visit your local branch in Mitchell or Torrington. Pinnacle Bank, member FDIC. Insurance products are not insured by FDIC or any federal government agency. Not a deposit of or guaranteed by the bank or any bank affiliate.
News Extra continues here on KNEB, 960 AM, 100.3 FM. I'm Dennis Ernest. We're visiting with some folks from Gering about the Gering School District and reconfiguration and a bond issue. Dr. Daryl Wills is on this leadership committee. Dr. Wills, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Dennis. Glad to be here.
What brings you to this committee to work on this school? Your kids are graduated.
Well, Dennis, sometimes we plant trees we're never going to sit under the shade of them. And I have grandchildren in the Gering School District. I have grandchildren in Scottsbluff. I think the school system is vitally important for Gering as a community. Maintaining a good school system brings families into our area. And Gering being a residential community, the school system is imperative. I've seen the insufficiencies of the school, understand the needs. We need to grow. We need to develop what's there. We need more gymnasium space. If we bring the freshman academy in, those students need area. We now have girls athletics we didn't have 50 years ago, so we've doubled the need of about everything in the school, and we need to bring it up to that current level then for the students' benefit.
Just logistically, I can think toward spring, and especially spring, you would see the track athletes having to get their way all the way up to the high school to participate in things. And of course, it's true of all the other activities that are going on as well. So just logistically, it makes a lot of sense to get those kids off the streets and into the campus.
Exactly. We're moving a lot of students back and forth from the high school to the junior high or the academy and back the other way. That would solve a lot of those issues, as well as teachers having to move from one facility to the other.
Yeah. So when you think about this or you talk about this out in the community, what sort of vibe are you hearing from folks?
Well, we're early on that, Dennis.
We're
I
just
think the
starting.
people involved with the system and have children in the school realize what we need to do. There are a lot of voters out there that do not know, and the purpose of our committee is to bring that word out to the voters, have people understand the need, and hopefully vote positively on March 14th when we have the ballot.
Tory Schwartz is somewhere over there behind some. I can't even believe I can't see you because you're so tall, but I still can't see you. Tory Schwartz is also here. Tory, what brings you to the committee?
You know, like Daryl was saying, you know, I'm a lifelong resident. I graduated from Gering High School. I've got kids in the school system as well. My wife teaches in the school system, so I'm cemented in there pretty well.
All right, and what are your thoughts on it as you see it go?
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind that all the things that are being proposed are needed and necessary. You know, and from a lot of different angles. You know, and not just based on the need, but you know, to keep our community progressing and keeping it as a desirable location for people to relocate to.
Well, for a long time, the reputation has been, boy, it's a great district, and I want to locate there because of that. But if we don't, I guess, keep up, is that the thought?
You know, I don't know that we like to use those words, but essentially, I do think that's what it comes down to. You know, when you have two communities located as close as we do, you know, and one has maybe better facilities than another, I do think that's a glaring issue when people are relocating and plays heavily into their decision of where they're going to live.
Well, you take a look at what we did and I say we, what the community did in the Lincoln Elementary rebuild, and you know, that just made a wonderful addition to that central heart of the community there.
Absolutely. And I think you'll have any of those residents that live in that area would tell you the same exact thing, and how proud they are, and maybe even what it did to their home value. You know, hopefully maybe an increase in a value there. You know, but it did. It made a huge difference for our community, and especially that central area.
Tell us about, and I'm not sure who to direct this question to. This might be to you, Bob, to get folks into the district to take a look. Are you planning some tours, some look-arounds? What's the deal?
Yeah, we're going to have tours. We'll have a schedule that we'll be publishing on an informational webpage probably early next week. We'll have opportunities for people to come in. We're going to have some just sit-downs, informational types of meetings where we'll talk with people, talk about what the project is, why we're looking at it, the process that we've used to get to where we are now. It's been pretty extensive. There's been a lot of community involvement, a lot of staff involvement in it so far. And, of course, also things like the cost. What's this going to look like? How much is it going to cost? And how does that impact the individual taxpayer?
Do we have round figures yet?
Yeah, we do. This is going to be about a $24 million bond. With a $24 million bond, it will give us the opportunity to be able to do the things that we have to do and the things that we feel like we should do to improve Gering High School to make it last into the next 30 to 50 years.
And this is concentrated at the high school facility? This
is completely at the high school facility, yes. So it involves an addition, in addition to some commons areas, and then renovation to much of the current building, the addition of an auxiliary gym, upgrading locker rooms, weight rooms, those kinds of things as well. So there's a lot of pieces involved with it.
And I have to think just practical, electricity, HVAC, and all kinds of things that are in that skeleton of that building that are, as you said, now 50-some years old.
Yeah, HVAC's a huge one. And as you talk to our teachers, that's one of the big issues for them and for the students. We have a system that I'm sure in 65 when it was put in made a lot of sense. We probably had come from a system that didn't have air conditioning in it. And so it's a one-pipe HVAC system, and it's a monster to change from cool to heat. And so we have classrooms that are way too hot, classrooms that are way too cold. We'll put in a two-pipe system, and that should alleviate that problem and give a lot more individual control to teachers in the classroom and make the learning environment more comfortable for kids, and that's important.
I know it's a lot more kids, a lot more student population, but I used to see the twin in Kearney, absolute twin of our Gering School, and I thought, man, that thing is wore out compared to how ours looked, maintained better. Of course, fewer students through it over the years, but there comes a point, there comes a time when you just, how much can you put back into that?
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned Kearney. Kearney just passed a bond issue a few years back, and they just moved into their new high school this year, and it is an exact twin to our building. Our building has been very, very well maintained. I can't state that enough. If you walk down the halls of Gering High School, you don't see problems. It has been well cared for. But I will liken it to someone, a person who's 50 years old. They may take very good care of themselves, but still when they get up in the morning and their knees creak, their neck's a little sore, and there's some work that could be done. And it's no different for a building. 50 years is getting a pretty long life on it.
All right, well, we'll stay tuned for information on these tours and more information about this upcoming bond issue.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. That is Bob Hastings, Dr. Daryl Wills, and Tory Schwartz have all been with us here. I haven't even seen Tory. He's somewhere over there. We appreciate them all coming in this morning to visit with us on News Extra. For Kevin Mooney, I'm Dennis Ernest. Stay tuned. The news is next.
Trusted voice for agriculture, KNEB, Scottsbluff, Gering, 960 AM, and now on 100.3 FM.